Hey guys, and welcome to Healing from Trauma and Narcissistic Abuse podcast and YouTube channel. So, those of you who are new here, I just want to welcome you and say you're so welcome. This is a place where we can kind of share things and be safe. Now, I wanted to start off by just introducing today's topic. So, first of all, the reason I'm talking about improv and the amazing abilities of improv to empower us is because at the weekend I ran a retreat. Now I think the retreat on the whole went pretty well. There was lots of different healing modalities. Now one of the healing modalities was based on improv. So I did about an hour of these kind of improv games, kind of loosely based games, and the games are a lot of fun. But I didn't necessarily explain the power of improv at the time as we were going through them. Now I did a little bit of explanation, but I think some of it kind of got lost. So it's totally my fault. So I had a few people asking questions like, well, how is this on a healing retreat? How does this help me heal? So I wanted to kind of just clear this up, but also let people know who have never even thought about improv, who are on a healing journey, that this could actually be something that you should consider. Now, for myself, I found healing through improv one of the most empowering things that I've tried. Okay, so what is improv? Improv is what actors use when they're trying to help themselves get out of their own way. What does that mean? Basically, if an actor's on stage or they're in a play, they're in a movie, for you as the audience to feel that, you need to feel their authentic self coming through. So although they're not playing themselves, they're playing a character. You need to believe that that character is going through the emotion. So that character is sad, that character is joyful, that character is angry, that character is happy, whatever it may be. You need to believe that. And the best way to do that is if they are actually really expressing emotion. To do that, they've got to get to their core self. Now, the problem is so many parts get in the way. We have protector parts that tell us when we do something that's out of our comfort zone, out of our window of tolerance, that if we try and protect ourselves, we're going to be safer, obviously. So those protector parts pop up and they say, don't do this, or procrastinate, or come up with an excuse, or any kind of self-talk in our head. You're not good enough. Or these wounds come up from back in the day, and because these things are resurfacing, we avoid stuff. We avoid things that aren't easy, and we want to just meditate. We want to just do the easy stuff. That is where improv is so powerful, because the whole belief around improv, as in the beliefs that they teach, centers around this principle, the principle of yes and. Now, yes and basically means you take something, so another person in the scene or another thing in life, when you're talking about this from the perspective of life, there's an obstacle. Someone in the scene says, hey, I've just bought a dog. You say, amazing, I've always wanted a dog. Let's take it for a walk. That is yes, and that is something is coming into the scene which you weren't expecting because you're working with people, and then you're dealing with it and you're overcoming it and you're turning it into something you're taking control. Exactly the same in life. If something happens to you in life, a situation comes, you think, I don't know if I can handle this. I've never experienced this before. I'm just going to go back to the way I've always done things. I'm going to start drinking again. I'm going to eat more food. I'm going to hide from the world. I'm going to go and watch Netflix. We have these coping strategies, these parts that get in the way and don't let us be authentic to ourselves. This is where improv comes in. It allows us, if we start to see the world from an improv viewpoint, as in, okay, so through the door in a minute, someone might come in and say, hey, I need to use this room, or someone might ring the doorbell. And now, because I'm in the middle of filming this or recording this, how do I deal with that? Knowing that it's okay, I can deal with that. I can deal with whatever comes next. It builds that form of inner resilience because I am not tapped into my defender parts, the anxiety, the overthinker, the parts that are trying to protect me. I'm in here. I'm inside my core authentic self. I'm living in purpose. I'm living in a way that's full of confidence, full of courage, full of clarity, full of creativity. I mean, I'm using my playfulness and my presence to express who I really am. And those things, doesn't matter what kind of healing journey you're on, those things, they come out so well when you allow yourself in a safe space, like a healing improv class with people who are also on the same journey as you. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, there's a very mindfulness based approach to it because you're living in the present. I don't think most people in improv, they're not really thinking too much about other things. You're not too worried about the past or the future. Like it's hard to be doing that when you're living in the present, when you're being vulnerable, because you're opening up in that moment. And then you're noticing, you're inquiring, what is happening to me right now? How am I feeling? Okay. How am I processing this information? But you haven't got time to spend too much time worrying because something new is going to come at you. Because the next person in the scene is going to say a word and you're going to have to come up with the next word. And it starts to really build new neural connections. You're literally building neural pathways. You know, it literally encourages you to be mindful. It literally encourages you to be present because you're literally being spontaneous as much as you can. Because most times in the world, we're not being spontaneous. But if I say go around the room and act like a first animal that comes in your head, and you're like, oh, what's that? Okay, now I'm an elephant. How does an elephant act? You're like, oh, it acts like this. Okay, so now you're acting like an elephant. And that just came to you, and you just naturally did that without overthinking it. Now you've built a neural pathway that says, I can trust myself to try new things. Okay. And this can really help to ease anxiety, ease flashbacks, helps to build emotional regulation. It really helps people when they're really feeling stuck because allowing yourself to experience uncomfortable situations or really putting yourself in there because let's be honest, the reason most people don't do improv is because they're afraid and it feels like scary to be doing something out of your comfort zone. But it's pushing past that. I think the first time someone went to a yoga class, they were probably scared. They want to sit in the back. You get better at it. It feels more natural. It's the same with anything. But improv actually helps individuals to really develop that sense of I can be flexible. I can be um, safe. I can be in control, even when the world around me is changing. And that's powerful. I myself have developed so much confidence from it because I allowed myself to express emotions. Now I struggled. I really struggled with emotions because for me, the belief I had in my head was letting out emotions isn't safe or it's not what men should do. So when there was like an emotion to be shared, it was very much like a, oh, I'm sad, like, yeah, yeah, like a pretending to be sad or I'm happy, yeah, yeah. Like it wasn't real. And that's okay because improv is very non-judgmental. The whole point of it is you do what you can do, and whatever you do is right. There is no wrong, which really, defeats perfectionism and procrastination because it's a very non-judgmental way of looking at ourselves, looking at our space. Because especially as survivors of trauma or any kind of narcissistic abuse or any kind of abandonment, we've been told that we need to be a certain way. We've been told that we need to, kind of express ourselves only to please other people, or only in a certain way, or only at a certain time, or certain events. Which is why you see a lot of men getting all excited when the football comes on, they're getting all angry. Yeah, but there's certain times when they're allowed to do that. They all want to go and watch a fight or something. Be like, yeah, letting that feeling out. But the rest of the week, they're just kind of no emotions. Like, where's your emotions? We've just been trained that we're only allowed to let out certain emotions. Same for women. They have certain times when it's okay, or maybe they've been trained, they've been conditioned by society to think that you can cry or whatever, but you're not allowed to be positive, or you're not allowed to be, you know, I don't know, moody. You're not allowed to be scared. Hey, we all have these conditionings, and improv is such a beautiful way to really shed those layers of that onion that really keep us trapped. Another thing about improv, which you're never going to get in one-on-one therapy, is the group connection, just that ability to kind of deal with people, but also that social awareness, that social intelligence that you get when you have other people in the scene, or when you're the kind of the games we play, more like when you're playing a game with a group, you've got to be watching what the other person's doing. You've got to take their energy and then you've got to move it on. So when you take that energy, and you trust yourself, but you also got to be connecting. You got to listen. You got to watch people's eyes. For instance, one of the games, you've got to try and get to 21 without anyone saying, in a group setting. Basically, there's a group of people all standing around in a circle, and you've got to try and count to 21, one person at a time, saying a number, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And if two people try and say the number at the same time, then it goes back to 0, which teaches us to allow each other to have space, but also to know where our space is, and also be willing to voice ourselves. But it also takes us out of our own head, helps us to feel more connected with people. And connection is one of the biggest things for healing, which is massive. And I guess the most obvious one which is play, just having playfulness, having fun. I see people who came on my retreat and they were saying, wow, I have literally smiled the first time in years. Like, this is the first time I've smiled. And something like that is like so powerful, because, if so, you go to therapy, you're not going to therapy because you want someone to teach you about everything that's wrong with you. You're going to therapy to heal. But what is a better healing than smiling, right? If you can literally smile, even though you're going through fear, sadness, all these other emotions, if you can forget about that for a moment and learn to live in the present and connect with people, that's huge, massive. Procrastination is another one. Fear of failure is another one. So many trauma survivors, they struggle in life. They struggle to start businesses. They struggle to build new relationships because they're just afraid. They struggle to leave relationships if you're in a narcissistic relationship because there's a fear that I better hang on to the familiar. I better hang on to what I've got. I better hang on to what I know. But actually, improv literally encourages us to fail, encourages us to embrace our mistakes, encourages us to let go of needing to be in control and actually start to feel more in control, more comfortable in uncertainty, allowing us to really trust our abilities to adapt. And that's empowering when you can let go of that fear of failure, or even that fear of success. Even if I do get it right, it's okay. Even if I get it wrong, it's okay. Wow. Everything I do is okay. Wow. That means I must be enough. That encourages us to really embody what it means to heal, really embody becoming attuned with ourselves, that somatic connection between body and mind. You can't really get that anywhere else, especially not that seems adaptable for real life. Improv is like real life. You're literally in your body, moving around. There's so much movement, but at the same time, you're having to think on your feet. You're having to tap into emotions. You're having to use your voice, you're having to use your body, you're having to express yourself, express emotions, express feelings. And by doing that, you just learn to disconnect from the fear, disconnect from the anxiety, because you become in tune to yourself. And those negative thoughts that you once had start to reframe themselves. We start to literally build new pathways in our mind where we've been going one way, saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I can't do this, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. We quickly turn those pathways, we start building new pathways like, oh, wow, I can do it. It's not that bad. I didn't die. And we start to reframe our negative or harmful beliefs because we start to develop this cognitive flexibility, which really helps us to break free from those unhealthy patterns. It literally gives us these breakthroughs. It's such an empowering process because we're really coming at this with this new sense of self, really connected to that core of who we are. So if anyone is thinking about connecting or joining an improv class and wants to try it, I would recommend just get involved. Like, it's one of the best, most empowering things you can do. It's, like I say, it's so many benefits of doing it, but yet it's not talked about enough, I don't believe, in the healing space. But it's huge. It really is. It really allows you to get out of your head and into your body and start to experience that joy, that peace that you've been missing. So yeah, anyone who's interested, then let us know, because we will be running some more retreats soon, and I definitely hope to include some improv style healing in a safe, secure environment in that way. You can do it one-on-one. I do work with some clients, and we practice some improv games between ourselves. Again, it can work one-on-one, absolutely. But yeah, you miss out on that group connection, but you still get that ability to try new things and start to learn to really trust yourselves to come up with new ways to change your thinking, to change your behaviors, to really step outside of your comfort zone. So, guys, I'm going to leave it at that for now. But anyone who has any questions about improv in healing for trauma or anything else for that matter, then feel free to get in touch. But for now, guys, have an amazing day. It's been a pleasure as always. Don't forget to subscribe and like and follow for more. I'll see you guys on the next one. Namaste.